Let me ask you something. How much of what you studied last week do you actually remember right now? Be honest. Here's the shocking truth. Within 24 hours, human brain forget up to 70% of what you learn. What if I told you there is a simple evidence-backed way to flip this? A method that allows you to remember almost anything in your 70s. And the best part, it doesn't require you to study hard. It just requires you to add smartness to how you study. That's what I'm about to show you in this video. At the end of this video, you should be able to use a proven 7 days hack to remember anything you study. Exam, speech, conversation, in relationship, and recall it with confidence. 7 days from now, imagine sitting in an exam hall, looking at a question and the answer just flew out. Or standing in front of a room, delivering a speech word for word, note for note. No panic. That's the power of this system I'm about to teach you right now. I once met a student who said to me, I don't have a memory problem. I have a forgetting problem. And he was right. Our brain aren't built to store everything. They are built to survive, to forget quickly, to clear space for what feels urgent. That's why we cram, we read, highlight endlessly, and still forget. But here's the shift. Memory isn't about being gifted. It is about using a scientific method in your favor. Let me give you an illustrator. Think of your brain like a muscle. Reading once is like lifting a dumbbell. One time and expecting a six-pack. That is impossible. But if you train consistently with rest in between, your muscles grow. Memory works exactly the same way. Now, this method is called spaced repetition, and it's been tested over 100 years in psychology. Now, day one, learn it, then immediately test yourself. I will say that again. Learn it and immediately test yourself. Now, there are many students on campus listening to me right now who are good at learning. You do the reading aspect well, but you never did the testing aspect well. It works if you test yourself immediately after you learn. Now, let me tell you something very brief. If you decided to learn something, read something for exam, and you immediately did not test yourself after you are done with reading, you may actually forget at least 70% of what you read. And if it stays with you more than 2 or 3 days, you are absolutely going to forget. So learn it and then immediately test yourself. And this is one thing I actually do to myself. If I'm to learn something very bulky within a short period of time, what I always do is actually rewarding myself for passing. So I'm going to read for a long period of time, and then after I read for a long period of time, I'm going to give myself a great reward if I actually did well. So it gives me the tenacity to actually read, and as I'm learning, I knew that immediately I'm done, I'm going to be tested. And if I actually pass the test, I'm going to have the reward. And if I didn't have the test, I'm really not going to have the reward. So day one, learn it, then immediately test yourself. Day two, review for 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, the things you read yesterday, and then most essentially, the things that you wrote in your test. So go through your test again, go through the material briefly, and then that's the second day. And then day three, test again without looking at notes. So this time around, you're going to come and set the same question or similar question that you believe come out during exam, and set that same question and think without reading your book and without checking. Review it again in 10 minutes, and then that is what you do in your day 3. Test again without looking at notes. Day 4 now, short review. Have a short review. So now you have learned it and you have tested yourself. Now you review it and then you have tested yourself again, even with the fact that you didn't read. So now short review. So glance through everything that you have actually written down and have a short review. At this point of short review, what I do the most of the time is to write acronyms. Maybe if I'm to write on psychology, I'm going to write acronyms on psychology. Maybe I want to write about the history of psychology. I'm going to use terminology for the years, the people that wrote it, and so on. Yes, that is what I do on my short review. And then I ensure by this time I could remember at least 95% of the things that are within my book. So I make research, I make extra things I can do, and on that spot, I actually could recall almost 95%. On the 7th day, what do you do? Finally record session. So you are going to read again from the start. You're going to pass through from day 1 to day 6 as I've listed. The other day that I actually didn't list, which is day 6, you can use it to rest if you want to. But if you still want to put anything there, you are free. Just ensure that these things I've listed down, you put them into work. So my final day, I'm going to pick, that is almost the day before the exam, or the early morning before daybreak for my exams. I will pack down every single thing I've read from day 1 up to that date. You're going to sit with it again, do the text again, and trust me, I have never failed doing that, and there is nobody I've tutored in this area that have failed doing that. I'm definitely sure if you can do that, and at the day before the exam you can remember 95, and then the day of the exam, maybe you wake up early or the night before the exam, you test yourself and you ensure that you remember 95%, you can't fail at the exam. Now the tragedy is that most students do the opposite. They cram, they reread, they highlight whole textbook. It looks like work, but it doesn't stick. It's like trying to fill a basket with the water. You are pouring effort in, but nothing stays. So there are many students like that. They are doing their best, but absolutely they are really not going to learn anything because they will not remember. I've seen many people like that. Some people have come to me and said, how are you doing this thing you are doing? You look like you're not actually doing anything. But I told them, I didn't act like everybody else. I find a principle and it works. And that is what I'm sharing with you. So if you did not set a proper structure as I've listed for you, or other structure that best work for you, you are like reading inside a basket with water. Trust me, you're pouring effort in, but nothing will stay in that book. Tony Robbins said something. He said, repetition is the mother of skills. If you want to master your exam, if you want to master the things you learn, if you want to master anything within the 7 days period, all you need to do is constant repetition and with precise different analogies. So here's my challenge to you. Choose one thing you want to remember this week. Follow the 7-day system. No shortcut, no excuse. Just focus on the 7 things I've told you. And next week, when it works, because it will, come back here and tell me in the comment section what you remember. And if this video gave you value, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button to show more people can see it. Subscribe so you don't miss the next evidence-based strategy to study smart. Drop a comment below telling me the one thing you are going to start remembering this week, because once you learn how to remember anything in 7 days, you all realize that there is no limit to what you can achieve beyond 7 days.